You know, when I first saw this extension with Adam Larsson, my initial thought was like, yeah, that's about right. That's perfectly fine. This is about where it should be. And then I looked at the Twitter or X comments, whatever you like to say, and I was shocked. People are saying, wow, what an overpay, and oh, it's so terrible, and this and that. And I was like, I guess there's a misunderstanding between me and maybe some other hockey fans over what Adam Larsson is. In my perspective, I think Adam Larsson is a defensive defenseman that plays a pretty good amount of minutes and is good in his own zone. He's not a bottom pair guy, and getting $5.25 million or giving $5.25 million to a player like that isn't bad at all, right? Now, maybe a lot of people have feelings about this player because he was, traded 1-for-1 for Taylor Hall. We all remember that weird trade that happened, but this is a pretty good player, guys. This is about the going rate for a player like that. Now, I do wonder to myself, is it because the cap has gone up and players are getting paid a little bit more than they used to? I mean, the player is only actually 31 years old. I mean, he played a pretty good amount of minutes. I just don't understand the disconnect. But yes, the Seattle Kraken have re-signed Adam Larsson to a 4-year, I think it's a 5.25 or somewhere in the neighborhood of that deal. I would have signed that all day. Now, of course, there's going to be some risk with this, right? You're always going to have some kind of risk. Like, yes, he's 31, and then maybe he falls off a cliff. Typically, players can still remain pretty competitive until 35, but obviously there is some risk with this. And Seattle isn't an elite team, so maybe that holds some risk as well. Now, I actually quickly looked into what his time on ice was, because one of the biggest things that you can do when analyzing a player is like, how much do they play, their quality of competition, and things of that nature are really good. Now, he played 22 minutes on average each night. I'll show the stats on the screen here. A defenseman that plays 22 minutes a night, now, he's not an offensive dynamo, but if you can give good defensive hockey at 22 minutes a night, I mean, why the hell wouldn't you give this player that amount of money? I think this is a good deal for the Seattle Kraken, in my opinion. And let's also remember here, he is a right-hand shooting defenseman as well. This is an important thing. Right-handed shooting defensemen, we all know, are a premium in the NHL. This is one of the most important things. It's difficult to find them. This is why Chris Tanev, defensive defenseman, got paid such a ridiculous contract by the Leafs, and guys like that get paid, and even why the Leafs want to give Timothy Liljegren more opportunity, it's because of these reasons, because right-handed guys are a premium. He is 6'3", so he has size. Again, this isn't a perfect player. I would, again, my preference would be him to be a little bit more, I always thought Adam Larsson had the potential to give a little bit more offensively, so that's always been my disappointment with Adam Larsson, I'm not going to lie. Like, I thought when Adam Larsson was drafted, he was going to legitimately be a stud number one defenseman. Now, I will admit that he is not a stud number one defenseman. That's absolutely true. However, I'm going to push back a little bit here and say, you do need to give him credit that he's at least a top 4D. I will say, though, to the disagreeers of what I'm saying about Adam Larsson, you do need to be able to, if you want to be a stud number one defenseman, you need to be elite defensively and elite offensively. You need to be, 22 minutes a night, but also add offense. I don't think that's what he is, but it is crazy to me when I'm reading these comments of all these hot takes about, Adam Larsson overpaid this and that, and I'm like, dude, he's actually a pretty good player. He's not elite, but he's pretty good. He was actually a player that I've kept my eye on for a long time with the Maple Leafs, thinking, hey, if they wanted to possibly trade this player, I'd be all over him. I keep my eye on pretty much every right-handed shooting defenseman in the league. Now, I will say one thing, though, that you can make the argument that Adam Larsson, to some degree, has been kind of slowly declining, like a little bit over the past couple of years. But to that, I would say, okay, it's a 4-year contract. The cap is going to go up. What percentage of the cap is he being paid right now? Which is like, okay, I understand that. But if the cap keeps on going up, let's say in year 2, he's a relatively around the same value of player, this contract is going to look generally fine for me, especially because he plays so many minutes. But yes, I do understand to some degree people might say, well, he's not in his prime. That is a fair point, right? Because once you hit your 30, like a 31, most players do start a relatively slow decline, and then after 35 it gets really bad. You're generally in your prime in your 20s, and then that might be a fair criticism to what I'm saying. I will say though, it is interesting. Like, I do think that, like, I'm not saying he's like an elite defenseman, but I do think he's fine. I think it may be a slight touch of an overpayment, a slight touch, but I don't think that this is that bad at all. I do like Adam Larsson, so that's going to be my hockey hot take on this. So I'm going to leave the video there. If you made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day, guys. Bye.